So here we have a calf and soleus roll. I put one foot on top of the other to add more pressure because my calves in particular are not very tight. And you can do this for any muscle when you're not feeling a knot or tension, and it's a good way to find one. So next up, I'm going to be doing a raise and lower with my foot. It's called plantar and dorsiflexion. Another way to help remove knots is to add some movement. Next up, we have the hammies. If you guys ever pulled this, it's not fun, and you know exactly where we're going to roll if you have. So we start behind the back of the knee and we roll up and down. We go all the way up to the top of the glute, the bottom of the glute, and then we're going to go back down to the behind the knee. Now, the hammies aren't super tight for most people, but when they are tight, let me tell you, it's going to be painful. So next up, I'm going to add a little bit of holding here, and then we'll get into some movement next. A really good idea is to add movement such as a rock back technique or just moving the muscle fiber along the range of motion that it would typically go. So for our hammies, that's usually involved in bending, but since we're on the ground in this sort of way, we can't really bend the legs effectively. So I opt to do more of a rock back strategy, and this works really well. So keep that in mind. If holding doesn't work, add some movement. Oh, the dreaded IT band. So first we're going to start by propping the roller up on the hip. I'm going to highlight the area for you guys. It's on the side of the leg. So we're going to go down to the elbow. Then we're going to go ahead and straighten out our leg that's on the foam roller, followed by bending our foot and our knee here. Now, the reason why we do this is a tight area. And if you guys need to take some weight off of the muscle that has the roller on it, then you can do so by pushing up on your foot. And one of the most effective ways to remove the knot in the IT band is doing this bending motion. You can see mine's a little bit restricted here because I have a really tight IT band. But the goal is we're trying to kick the heel all the way to the glute, and you'll be able to do so once the IT band has loosened up. Here I kind of open up during this roll, and this is just to show you guys a different way you could do it and also to give you a visual of an alternative view. But as always, if we're going to go ahead and do our butt kicker here, we need to come back to this position where we cross the foot over, and then we aim for the glute. Yes, you read that right, rectus femoris, and no, it is not a Harry Potter spell. It is actually the front of your thigh. So we're going to start by putting the roller in front of the knee, and we're going to go from the top of the knee all the way to the bottom of the hip here, searching for the highest tension area. Once we have found it, we're going to go ahead and hold. And after we've held for a significant amount of time, we can add movement if that was not working. And here is what we do to add movement here. We're just going to go ahead and bend the knees, trying to bring the heels to the glute. Very similar to how we did the IT band. And here we have the inner thigh, how we set this up. Well, there it is. There's my inner thigh. How we set this up is by moving our body to one side of the roller, putting our knee bent over the other side, and literally we're just rolling out the whole inner thigh here, going back and forth from the inside of the knee all the way to the inside of the hip, looking for any tension. Now, this tends to be a really tight area for most people. But if you're having trouble finding tension, or when you find a really high tension area, then you could go ahead and do this motion where we're going and bending. And again, we're bringing the heel close to the glute. And we're going to go make sure we're searching and destroying all those freaking knots. So we're going to hit the lower back here. This is a really small area, actually, right above the top of your hip or your pelvis and the bottom of your rib cage. Probably only about 2 to 3 inches of area here for most people. So we're going to take it really light and easy. We're going to keep the glute and the hips on the ground here, and we're just going to put light pressure by leaning back. Really important note here, like with all spinal things, we're going to try to keep the spine really straight. So you can see me here bracing the core a little bit and just making sure I'm being careful with my spine. And we're moving on up to the upper portion of the back. We're going to start in the middle of the back here. And we're going to brace the core as to keep our spine straight. Just with all spinal things, remember to keep that spine nice and neutral. We're going to go from the middle of the back all the way to the top of the shoulders, and we're going to roll up and down. There's some cool things here you could do by your hand placement. So I'm going to go ahead and put my hands behind my head here, and rolling up and down in this sort of fashion is going to put a little bit more pressure on the back, but it's going to allow me to hit muscles that I wouldn't otherwise if my hands were down by my chest. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and open my elbows. Now when we do this, this really opens your back up and you're able to get a lot of hard to reach areas. If you've ever got a massage or ever tried to get these areas yourself, it really allows you to get in there and get those really hidden knots. And then some other things you could do when you're on your back here is you could just do this butterfly motion, going elbows back and forth. And again, this is going to get a lot of pops here and releases, so it's a very good thing. If you hear any pops and any release sort of things like that, don't be alarmed. Totally natural. Your spine is decompressing. And this is the last one here, guys, putting the hands overhead. By far going to put the most pressure, so be careful with this one. But again, you could do this snowman or angel type motion here, and it's going to get some really unique spots of the back. Here we have the lat, also known as the wings. So how we set this up, it's actually going to go like right underneath your armpit here. And there's only a couple inches of space you want to really cover with the lat roll. So we can set this up very similar to how we did the IT band. We put the bottom leg straight and we also bend the knee here, putting some weight and pressure on the foot. If this is a really tight area for you guys, you can keep the hips on the ground. But if you need some extra pressure to put on the lats here, you can go ahead and push up on the foot here and you could raise the hip up. Also, you could add some movement here. This is a great way to get some knots out in the lat area. So keep that in mind. All right, so here we have the pec minor. This is actually where the shoulder connects to the chest. So we set up the roller in like a 45-degree angle here. And again, we're going to be starting with the roll like right in the armpit area. We're just going to lean forward. This is much more on your shoulder than it is your chest. So this is not a very comfortable position for females, but if you're doing it correctly, you'll be away from the breast and you'll be on the connection point from the shoulder to the chest. Adding some movement in there is definitely going to help get some knots and tension out. Really great if you have rounded shoulders. And last but definitely not least, we have the nape of the neck here. Now this is a really high tension spot for a lot of people. And so how we set this up, I'm sure you guys are familiar with this. If you guys go to sleep, which I hope you guys do, you put the foam roller in the nape of the neck here. And you could start by putting your hands at your chest. I personally prefer hands to the side. It's just more comfortable for me. And then what we can do is we can start to add motion to hit different areas of the neck. We want to be really gentle here, not putting a ton of stress and pressure on the neck, but definitely making sure we add some movement in there to help remove those really pesky knots. Great job, everyone. Now go ahead and take your nap. Just kidding. Get your ass up and get about your day. Your body will thank you for the time you took to roll it out.